Welcome back to the HomeKit 5 podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Brayden.
And this week we are going to talk about hacking the Hue, the Euphy wireless doorbell, Santala desk lamp, and the Stenglid HomeKit hub. So before we get into that, I just want to say if you're new here, welcome. We talk about all things Apple HomeKit related. So if you have a smart home and you're wanting to use your Apple devices to control it, that's what we're talking about here. And it's all the news around that. So, and if you're a return listener, we really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to so you get notified about our new ones. And if you want to help us out, a great way is just go into iTunes podcast app or go into the podcast app. It's not iTunes anymore. And leave us a review there. We've got 2. We really appreciate that. And we've also tweaked our setup a little bit here. Hopefully you'll hear it in the quality of the audio. We're going to try to edit on the iPad and use some different tools there. And then we've got a 4K camera for those watching on YouTube. Hopefully that turns out good as well. So trying to continue to experiment this week. Yeah, and then the other thing is next week there won't be an episode. I will be out of town, so we won't be able to sync up and have a podcast. But we will be back the week after that. So, all right, let's dive into it. You want to take the first one?
Yeah. You want to open that up?
Yeah, we read this in the car today. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, Hue, their light bulbs can be hacked by just basically implementing a virus-like chain reaction into one Hue bulb and then slightly changing the color and then not having it react to when all the others react, so that way the owner gets tricked into thinking that it's malfunctioning, so they'll reset it and re-add it, and then it gets access to everything else on the network by just overloading the hub. And then it just, from the hub, it can get into all the computers, adding keystroke loggers, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter. I think the trick here is like you would probably change the color drastically, right? Because you really want the homeowner to notice it, so you would either make it flash or turn it like a bright purple or maybe turn it the opposite color of what it's been set to originally. It sounds like what they do is they actually like take over it and make it part of like a separate network and then control it, and it's got some kind of malware that they insert onto it. I'd assume maybe they update the firmware on it or something. And so then when the homeowner goes to like reset it and re-add it, that's when it gets access to your current essentially Zigbee network, and it can infect all the other bulbs and it can take over your hub. So sounds scary for sure.
Yeah, except that they have released a patch.
Yeah.
If your hub is updated to 193.35, wait, no.
Yeah, that's a crazy number.
Yeah.
We'll have a link in the article. I'm not sure us reading the number is going to help. But you should go look at the article, and it'll tell you the patch version that you're looking for. Basically, if it's been updated in January, I think you're probably pretty safe. Looks like they released the patch mid-January. So, and they found out about it in November. So it sounds like they were working on a fix kind of behind the scenes. But this was discovered 4 years ago, the article says.
Yeah.
They were using a flying drone to hack a room of Hue bulbs.
Yeah, from outside the building.
So I think it's just taken a while, I think, to come up with a legitimate like way to overwhelm the hub and then get access to the network. And some of the things you can look at, right? Like it's kind of scary. We were joking about it in the Slack channel, the HomeKit Slack channel. Like, you know, it's pretty standard to have to reset devices. Like we installed a VocoLink LED strip, and I've had to reset it 4 times this past week since I've gotten it. So I'm gonna send that thing back. But as I'm sitting there resetting it, I'm wondering like, oh my God, is someone like hacking this? Am I going to be vulnerable? One thing to consider is like, you could segment your smart devices, put them on their own network, right? So you could implement VLANs, make sure all the hubs are in their own VLAN, and you could have a dedicated access point just for your smart home devices that are on the same VLAN as the hub. I think in the case of Apple, it gets a little trickier because the if you use an Apple TV as your hub, or I haven't even looked into the HomePod, but it needs to be able to use Bonjour on both those networks. So you would have to figure that piece out. Luckily, we have a router that has a feature that allows us to easily do that. So I'm going to play with that this week. But that's one approach, right? So if the hub is separate, like the Philips Hue hub is on its own VLAN network separate from your computers, then you don't have to worry as much about your computers being discoverable and hackable and all that kind of thing. So, interesting article. I think the headline was maybe a little over the top.
Yeah.
I mean, they are hackable, and I'm glad this new firmware is out there. But by the time I read the article, like I'd already been updated with the hub version, so been taken care of. All right, so let's talk about the Euphy wireless doorbell. So I found this interesting. I pay attention to Euphy now because obviously we have the Euphy cams. We posted that link to that video where we kind of installed them and reviewed them. The Euphy Cam 2 package comes with the Homebase 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the wireless doorbell, so it's one that doesn't have to be wired in. It runs off batteries. Just plugs in, it looks like micro USB to charge the batteries, rechargeable battery, all that jazz. That looks like a good solution for those that don't have the pre-existing doorbell wiring. I wasn't clear on how the chiming happens. But it doesn't have HomeKit support yet, but it does use the Homebase 2. And it comes packaged together as the Homebase 2 and the wireless doorbell. There is talk that they're going to put out a version that you can buy that would just be the doorbell for those that already have the Homebase 2, right? So it's a little frustrating because I bought the Euphy Cam 2. Had I bought this first and then just bought the add-on like Euphy Cam 2 package, then I would be able to have the cameras and the doorbell. But I don't need two home bases, so it's like I definitely hope they fix that problem. But it looks good because it's got like a 2K camera on it. It's got it sends all the data to the home base, which comes with the 16 gigs, which has been plenty so far. You can then add on external storage if you want. I don't know. I'm kind of excited about this because we don't have that existing doorbell wiring. So this is something I'm going to be actively watching, and they are responding to the questions. Euphy Home is responding to the questions on Amazon. So if you do have a question about it, you can ask it there, and they definitely seem responsive. Chime. Someone asked if it comes with a white faceplate. That's a good question. How does the door chime? The door chime will sound when someone pressed the button on the video doorbell, and it cannot ring the existing home door chime. And it doesn't include its own chime. So I think we would definitely need HomeKit support for that. I don't know. I'm also like heavily watching this because I've found I put up that Aqara doorbell, like we're using the wireless mini switch, and it's not working as well as I would have hoped. We're only getting a ring like once every 4 times or something. So very helpful. All right. So with this one, I just want to give a shout out. There's desk lamp, the Santala desk lamp. It looks super interesting. We'll link in the show notes to a YouTube review that HomeKit Geek did, and if you're interested, definitely go watch that video. But the lowdown is it's a HomeKit controllable desk lamp. It's LED. It's very minimal power usage. It has USB output on the back, so you can plug a phone into it, and it also has like a Qi charger on the base of the lamp. So it looked like maybe you didn't get warmth control in HomeKit, but you do have the ability to kind of like control the light level and turn it off and on through HomeKit. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have a desk lamp?
I don't.
Or like a nightstand lamp?
Not really. No.
Do you have a Qi charger
I do have a Qi charger.
in your bedroom?
Yeah, I just don't use it that much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, you want to take the last story?
Yeah. So Singlid, they have their smart lights and all that stuff that
There's Zigbee smart lights.
yes, Zigbee smart lights. And at CES they announced that they were going to be producing a HomeKit compatible hub for all their lights and stuff. And so that is finally available on Amazon for $30.
Yeah. And it is, just to be clear, it's like a totally separate hub. So if you already have a Singlid hub, it doesn't look like there's going to be like a firmware update or anything for that.
Mm-mm.
It's just going to be, you got to go buy the new hub to utilize all their stuff. So, and I'm kind of curious now too, what their bulb pricing.
Just like a singular bulb.
Yeah.
There's
Find
the
this one?
19 yeah.
$14.75.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a soft white. The hue. See there. Single bulb. That's the color though. Your A19 color bulb is $36.
I don't see just a white. Most of it's like packaging.
Crazy. Come on, Amazon. Well, okay, there you go. So if you buy a 4-pack, it's $12.49. So it is a little more expensive for the Singlid. I don't know. Maybe might just stick with the stuff. I do know their LED strips. I was kind of looking at that earlier. Is a little bit cheaper for the Singlid Hue, the Singlid LED strips versus the Hue LED strips. I think the Hues are like $80 and the Singlid like.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, just I guess it kind of depends on what you've bought into as well. If you don't have a hub, like it might be worth looking at. Because it looks like they have a kit. I don't know if this is the HomeKit compatible kit, but $30 gets you 2 lights in the hub. So maybe that's one way to get into this particular ecosystem. It looks like some of the products are cheaper. Anyway, I guess that's about it for this week.
Yeah.
We should have started a timer. I wonder how close we got to 5 minutes.
I don't know.
Anyway, thanks again for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this podcast, hit the thumbs up. That helps YouTube like send this out to other people. And then if you're listening through a podcast platform, just make sure you hit that subscribe. And if you do want to leave Apple Podcast review, that does help us out and kind of bumps us in their algorithm as well, so other people can find us. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.